What would you do if a painting stole your child? And what if a lighthouse drove everyone inside it completely insane? Tonight, you're about to find out. This is Hollow Dreams. 22nd October 1918, 1:23 a.m. It's taken us 3 days to reach the island. The waves have been restless, the nights cold as ice, and the engine has seized more times than I can count. The compass spun uselessly, and what should have been a simple journey felt wrong, as if we were being pushed away from our destination. At times, it felt like we were circling the same stretch of water. I've begun keeping this log for my own sanity. They call it the Noble Lighthouse, one of the oldest still standing. Hardly any ships pass these waters anymore, and the men stationed here have been without communication for 4 months. We're meant to arrive at first light, God willing. 22nd October, 10:23 p.m. The station was empty. No logs, no belongings, no sign of life. Instead, strange symbols covered the lighthouse walls, 5 interlocking circles with an arrow through the center. They looked like crimson ink, until we realized it was blood. Polly was the first to enter the lighthouse. We heard the screams seconds later. When we reached him, he was convulsing on the floor, eyes bloodshot and unblinking. We carried him back to the barracks, where he's been lying still ever since. He hasn't blinked. Not once. Storms have trapped us here. Tonight, we're taking turns watching him. 23rd October, 6:41 a.m. Polly is still alive. Barely. When William and I switched shifts this morning, I glanced through the barracks window and nearly screamed. Polly was standing, pressed against the glass, slowly biting into his own lip. Blood spilled down his chin, but his eyes never left ours. Then his hands rose to his throat. Before we could stop him, he tore into himself and collapsed. Polly is dead. None of us spoke after that. I don't think any of us slept. 25th October, 8:20 a.m. I took too much Veronal. The nightmares were unspeakable. Burning pits, screaming shapes, voices whispering in languages I cannot remember. I fear something ancient has found us. 25th October, 7:33 p.m. I broke into the tool shed. When the axe split the door, a rotten sweetness poured out. I swear I saw flies, but the others say there were none. Inside, they found skeletal remains clutching a leather book marked with the same symbols. When they gave it to me, I vomited black bile. Jean and Alfred are gone. Something is very wrong here. 26th October, 11:33 a.m. Everyone is dead. Alfred burned on a pyre by the docks. Jean and William stood atop the lighthouse chanting. Jean jumped. William followed, but crawled toward the boat. I ended it with the axe. His eyes were black. Not dark. Black. I'm leaving now. I've painted warnings on the boathouse. I'm taking the cursed book and throwing it into the sea. If anyone finds this journal, leave this place as quickly as you can. 4,100 character narration script. In early 2015, my wife collapsed in the middle of my son's classroom. The teacher had barely finished her sentence when she said, "A man named Mr. Adam picked up Calvin today." My wife fainted before I could even ask a question because Mr. Adam was not a person. He was the name our 7-year-old son had given to the man in the old oil painting hanging in our living room. And 2 hours earlier, that man had vanished from the canvas. We drove to the school in silence, my hands shaking on the steering wheel as Calvin's teacher described the man. Tall, pale, soft-spoken. He told me he was Calvin's uncle. There was no uncle. At home, the empty painting waited for us. Where the man once stood was only a dark smear, as if someone had rubbed him away with a wet cloth. We called the Singapore police force. The detective who arrived was calm in a way that frightened me more than panic ever could. When we showed him the painting, his expression changed. Because the man was back. And now, he was holding the hand of a small boy. The boy's face was unfinished, blurred, as if the artist had never quite decided what he looked like. The detective exhaled slowly and said, "This isn't the first time." Since 2013, similar disappearances had been reported all across Singapore, always the same pattern: a strange painting, a missing child, and a return after the painting was sold. Every family refused to explain how their child came back. Every case was closed as a temporary disappearance. We traced the painting to a thrift shop in Bugis, then to an orphanage in Ang Mo Kio. The woman who ran it grew pale when she saw the photo and told us its name was Family Joy. It had been painted by a blind teenage boy who survived a house fire that killed his entire family. During 6 years at the orphanage, he painted them from memory, again and again and again. The man in the painting was his father. When the boy died, the orphanage sold the painting. Every buyer brought it back, always after their child vanished, always after their child returned. We listed the painting everywhere: eBay, Carousel, Shopee. But every message came from parents, families, people with children. We canceled every sale. At night, I heard footsteps in our hallway, and sometimes breathing behind our bedroom door. The boy in the painting was becoming clearer. Then the National Museum contacted us. They were collecting artifacts for Singapore's 50th anniversary. The orphanage owner finalized the sale, carefully omitting the part about missing children. We listed the price as $2. The museum accepted. The director signed the papers. A lifelong celibate priest. No children, no family. As the painting was carried away, the detective whispered that if this worked, the case would finally be closed. We went home and waited. An hour later, an announcement echoed through the museum. "Our staff has located a lost 7-year-old boy named Calvin." We ran to the front desk. Calvin was standing there, confused but unharmed. When I hugged him, I noticed something on his wrist. A faint smudge of dark paint, shaped like a handprint.